going to go ahead and get started, and I'd like to welcome everybody that had the time to come over to this KM panel discussion, specifically the real why of knowledge management. Just a little bit of an orientation. Can you go to the next chart, please? This is our panel construct that you've all seen in the outline of the Land War Net Track 9 conference. We do have to note that Mr. Lewis, because of the events related to the hurricane and the earthquake yesterday, was not able to get here. So the panel members that you see here are the rest of the representatives, and we'll have a good session. Just give us more time to talk. We will go through the introductions of each panel member in 2 minutes. We will have a question and answer period embedded towards the end of the 5 questions that each panel member will respond to. And as we go through, I think we've got some great topics that will elicit thoughts. Capture your questions or comments for later towards the end. And we will have a large virtual audience that is right now using SKN Live to watch the same presentation, and they'll be afforded the opportunity to ask questions as well. So with that said, we're going to get started. The first thing I'd like to do is go to the next chart. This is an opportunity for our panel members to introduce themselves, their mission, their organizations, and some of the priorities that they have on their plates in terms of hotspots. And we'll start off with Mr. Moore from CASCOM.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Bill Moore. I'm the Deputy to the Commanding General of the Combined Armed Support Command in Fort Lee, Virginia, as part of the Army. Basically the Chief of Operations for the CASCOM in Fort Lee. What we do for the Army is essentially train soldiers, develop leaders, and then develop future capabilities for our parts of the Army that we're responsible for. And that's basically all things sustainment. So quartermaster or supply, ordnance, which is mostly about maintenance, transportation, finance, personnel, and then we integrate some other functions for the Army like medical and chaplains and lawyers and things like that. When I look at our customer base, so to speak, it's about 1/3 of the Army that we train and develop leaders and develop capabilities for across all 3 components, with a fairly significant amount of civilians and contractors that also support the mission. When I add all that up, it's approximately 450,000 folks that we have to deal with that are really our shareholders and all that. Now, what I'd like to gain from participating in this panel, frankly, I'm very honored to even be on the panel. I view myself and our organization as a user of KM. 2 PhDs and a renowned author and me on this panel, so I'm feeling pretty good about even being up here. But frankly, we are a user. When I first stood up a KM shop in CASCOM about 4 years ago, I was sort of in the mode of, I don't know what this KM stuff is, but I want some of it, you know. And essentially since then, what it's become is a huge enabler for what we do for the Army. And I'm looking forward to learning even more from these experts and keep adjusting and refining how we utilize it within the missions of our command.
Next, we'll hear from Ms. Cindy Hubert from APQC.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cindy Hubert. I'm the Executive Director at APQC, and I'm responsible for our delivery services. For those of you who may not know APQC, we are an American Productivity and Quality Center. It's our long name. We are a research-based organization, and we do, our mission is to find best practices and bring them to bear on problems, disseminate them, and also help our members network. So we're a membership-based organization. I think our members come to us really for 3 reasons that they align with our mission. One is to get data and proven practices. What have people done, what have they tried, and what's been proven, so that we can take and replicate that without recreating the wheel. The other thing that they come to us for are frameworks and models and ways to think about more complex topics like knowledge management. And we've been researching and doing practical application of knowledge management solutions around strategy and processes and approaches for about 18 years now. And the third thing we do is very much in line with what I said our mission is about, which is to help people network. So we bring people together in various forms of fashion whether it's virtual or face-to-face, at conferences like this, consortium studies where people come to study particular topics. I was telling Mike, like product development and knowledge and how that comes together. So we, and our membership is global. It's about 30% government and military, and we also reach outside of just the U.S. base with about 30% international members. So it's very nice to meet you guys today. Why do I want to be here? I like to take real issues that you're dealing with, no matter how small you may think they are. They tend to grow up and get larger, grow up and get big, and get more complex. And so it's to try to understand what your issues are and how the things that we've learned over the last few years, you can use those to be agile and quickly work your way through this topic of knowledge management.
Thank you. Now we've got Dr. Mike Stankowski from George Washington University.
Thank you, Pat. I worry about being invited on any panel after lunch. You never give a professor the after lunch. I spent 26 years as a professional killer in the Marine Corps. Can't say I ever left it because you never leave the Marine Corps. And about 8 years as an executive in high-tech companies, and now I'm in my 14th year at the university. I'm a professor of systems engineering and engineering management, two fields of study. How I came to KM and why we're talking about it, I'll kind of leave a lot of it to my panel discussion. But I decided 14 years ago that if somehow we didn't create an academic discipline for KM, it's not going to make it. Because people don't go to school to learn, they go to get a degree. And that learning is secondary. If you don't get the degree, you don't go to school. That's your currency of the 21st century. And when KM came across my desk, I said, why KM? I know I'm looking at the gentleman over here who says you can't manage KM. We'll talk about that, because if you can't manage your strategic asset, you're out to lunch. But we'll talk about why KM and definitions and stuff like that and why I got into it. But currently, I created about 14 years ago what is considered, at least in America, the first master's and doctorate and graduate certificate in KM. And I created an institute. I'm in the School of Engineering and Applied Science with my colleagues in the School of Business, an Institute for Knowledge and Innovation. And it's a global network of people. We produced 30 doctors in 10 years in KM. One is sitting there in the audience. He just joined the Army. I tried to talk her out of it, but in any event, you got to know Diana Ascent. She's really a powerhouse in this area. So I'll leave my more remarks for later on, but I am excited to be here amongst my colleagues. Thank you.
And finally, we're followed by Dr. Dan Kirsch from KM Pro.
Hi, Dr. Dan, for those who know me. I feel like I've got about half the audiences from my classes and familiar faces. So, hi, everybody. I'm with KM Pro. KM Pro is the only non-profit international professional society dedicated to serving those in the knowledge management community. We try to support knowledge management and push the best practice of that, and then also try to give folks a community to be able to participate. My personal background in KM is I've been doing this about 20 years. Started when I was in the Navy and has kind of gone on since then. So like a movie that just never leaves town. Pat had asked also if we had any hot rocks. And I don't think anybody else has tossed out a hot rock specifically, so I'm going to toss mine out. Mine has to do with what I think is probably one of our biggest challenges in knowledge management. I hope we'll get a chance to talk about it today. Is that I think that we have not had leadership really buy into knowledge management yet. They've bought into IT, they've bought into IT thingies, but not knowledge management. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, we're going to move on to our first question.